Good evening. This is the Walpole Zoning Board of Appeals. Tonight is Wednesday, September 7th. It is 7 p.m. First business that we have tonight is a discussion for case number 0619, BH Brightview, New Pond Village, LLC, care of Benchmark Senior Living, LLC, and this is a request for a special permit extension of time. Do we have the applicant here?
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. As we've indicated in the agenda item there, our client is merely asking for extension of time. The permit was granted by this body back in 2019. As you may well fully understand, there's been COVID, the construction expenses skyrocketed, so we are asking for 1 year extension of time.
Okay. Is there anybody from the public that wants to comment on, this is the residential buildings being built at New Pond Village on Main Street? Anybody to speak on that? Okay. So it takes a majority vote. Voting on this will be the regular members and Tim Hegler. So could I have a motion to grant a 1 year extension of time for special permit case number 0619?
So moved.
Moved by Drew.
Second.
Second by Dave. Any further discussion on granting the extension of time?
The standard under the bylaws is for good cause shown, and assertion is COVID and cost concerns. So I think that's good cause for allowing an additional year.
Okay. Good. Okay. All those in favor of the extension of time, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, so carried. Okay. Thank you. Good luck with your project.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Next case we have is case number 22-20, 41 Forsythia Drive, special permit pursuant to section 5B2 of the Waffle zoning bylaws to allow an accessory in-law suite. This was continued from our last meeting. Is the applicant here this evening? Okay. So what we needed was an updated plot plan. Let's see that we have it dated August 29th, 2022. Do you have anything else to add on this? Do any board members have any questions or comments? I hope board members got a chance to see the topography of the property. That was one of the questions last time, and it had to do with why, you know, things were situated the way they were. Okay. Are people good with the in-law suite on this? So I think voting on this will be regular members and Judy, you were here last time. Tim, you were not here for this.
I think we had gone through the design-related things and we're comfortable with the plans for the building. The only outstanding item was the updated plot plan, which looks to me to be in good shape.
Showing the setbacks correctly, so I have no concerns. Everybody's good? Okay. Okay, that being said, could I have a motion to approve case number 22
Mr. Chair.
dash, oh, yes.
Can you close the hearing first?
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah. First thing, do you want to close the hearing?
Yes.
Do you want to close the hearing?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So, at the request of the applicant, they'd like to close the hearing. This is to just close the hearing. Could I have a motion to close case number 22-20, 41 Forsythia Drive?
So moved.
Moved by Judy,
Second.
second by Drew. Any further discussion on closing the hearing? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstained, so carried. Okay, now to the actual case. Do I have a motion to approve case number 22-20, 41 Forsythia Drive, special permit for a accessory in-law suite based on the plan, plot plan dated, updated August 29th, 2022, and the plans dated December 2021 from Verdi Consulting, looks like.
So moved.
Okay, moved by Judy.
Subject to all standard conditions.
Yep, subject to standard conditions. There was nothing else that we, I don't think we had anything else on this. On my notes, I didn't have anything.
Other department heads, no.
What's that?
Nothing from other department heads.
With standard conditions? Okay. Moved by, second by Bob. Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving the in-law suite at 41 Forsythia Drive, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, so carried. Okay, good luck with your project.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. Next, we have case number 22-12, Bristol Brothers Development Corp., Renmer Ave and West Street, variance under zoning bylaws section 10C2A3 for the adult qualified village development. Do we have a letter? Is anybody here from Bristol Brothers on this? Do we have a letter stating they want the extension?
Yep.
So we have a letter dated August 18th that they request an extension until September 21st of 2022. And with an extension of time until, I'm gonna say until September 22nd, 2022.
Okay.
So moved.
Moved by Judy,
Second.
second by Drew. Any further discussion? Oh, actually, is there anybody in the audience that's here for Bristol Brothers variance request? Okay. Nobody here for that. So it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Sorry, did you say the 7 o'clock?
7 o'clock at Town Hall. Yes, I did that. On the 21st.
Does that work with the agenda?
Yep. Okay. All those in favor of continuing at the applicant's request, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, so carried. Okay. Moving down. Next one is case number 22-23, Donna R. Ontario, 23 Summer Street, special permit under zoning bylaws 5B2 for an accessory in-law suite. Is the applicant here?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to come forward and present what you're proposing? Good evening. Do you have, do you have an engineer with you?
Yes,
Yeah,
I do.
Mr. Glasso, thank you. Okay, let me just read a few things because this is a new case this evening. Notice is given that the Zoning Board of Appeals, Town of Walpole, will hold a public hearing in the main meeting room of the Town Hall on Wednesday, September 7th at 7 p.m. on the application of Donna R. Montario, case number 22-23, with respect to property located at 93 Summer Street, Walpole, zoning district, Residence B. Application is for a special permit under zoning bylaws, section 5B2 for an accessory in-law suite. And we have a couple pieces of correspondence. We have one from the town engineer, Carl Baldoff. We have reviewed the submitted plan only and offer the following comments. We have verified that the proposed roof infiltration system is correctly sized. The engineering department should be notified by the installer prior to installation for permitting/inspection. Otherwise, we do not, we have no objection to granting the request relief. We have a letter from Paul Berry, Deputy Chief from the Fire Department. He has one point. If the request is approved, building plans, including location of life safety devices, will need to be submitted through the building department for our review. A follow-up Walpole Fire Department inspection will be conducted to ensure compliance with the approved plans. And the Health Department has no issues with this special permit. And the rest is your application package. So, if you would, why don't you explain what you're proposing to do and introduce yourself and explain what you're proposing to
Yeah,
do.
Mr.
Thank you.
Chairman, for the record, my name is John Glossa, Glossa Engineering, 46 East Street in East Walpole. And Donna Montiero is here along with her daughter Janine Follett, who are going to be the residents of this building. Actually, Donna's already a resident of this building. But I do have, and I apologize for being a little late with this, but I do have a letter sort of that's in support of the application. Don't think anything's been submitted, so if I may,
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, there's the original, and then there are a number of copies there. I think there's enough for everyone, hopefully. And I believe building plans from, not necessarily from an architect, but from a builder were submitted. If not, I have copies of those also.
We have those.
They're like 8.5 by 11. They're a little tough to read. We were able to put all of this stuff in our AutoCAD, so we know that the numbers that we have on our plan are correct, and the numbers that's in this application or in this letter are correct. But I think everybody knows Summer Street, you know, you go down to South Walpole and you sort of head out towards Norfolk, and that's Summer Street. So we have a locus map here, and as you can see, as you're heading out of South Walpole up towards Norfolk, so to speak, this house is on the right side, a few hundred feet before Delapa Circle, which is a few hundred, or 100 feet or so before Eldor Drive. This house is a single-story, sort of a ranch house, built in the 50s or so? In the 1920s. So it's been there for a while. Actually, and not that this has anything to do with you guys, but just as a point of information, the building was used as a two-family, had a kitchen and all in it at one time, but for some reason didn't have a stove or something. But the town never really recognized it as a two-family or as having an apartment. But doesn't really have anything to do with this application other than someone might bring that up. We were sort of pursuing that a little bit with the town appraiser, Dennis Fliss, just to see what the actual definition of this house was. But for right now, it's a single-family house. And what the owner would like to do is build a addition off the back. So by the way, if you look at the plans, the building plans, you sort of have to turn them sideways, not straight up and down, if you see what I'm saying. You have to sort of turn them this way, because here's the covered porch in the front, this is the garage, or not the garage, but this area, and here's the house coming this way, and then the addition is off the back, so you can see how our deck lines up, to the two decks lined up in the rear. So it was kind of, when this thing first came to me, I was like, did they send me the wrong plan? So, yeah, I'm a little slow to catch on. So anyway, so the proposal is to build an 864 square foot addition. 854 square foot addition off of the back of the house. So it's essentially 16 feet by 39, 45, 50 feet off of the back of the building with a bump out in this location here. And there's 2 decks off of the back of the building. It's a single-story addition to a single-story house. There's, it sort of fits in with the way the house looks now. There'll be no change in the parking situation because there's a rather large driveway in front of a garage on the left side of the house. And, as the town engineer said, this building or this lot does exist in a Water Resource Overlay Protection District number 3. So I consulted with the building inspector about exactly what that means because I would say it's a little fuzzy in the zoning bylaw. But he explained that what that means is that for the new construction, for the new rooftop, we have to put at least 1 inch of rainfall that falls on that into the ground. And so the way we do that is through some concrete galleys with stone around them. And then they're sized, you can see here, and there's a calculation for them, and they're sized to do that, put 1 inch of water back into the ground. So he says if you're doing an addition more than 600 square feet, which this is, that's what you have to do. So I'll just go over the letter. So I believe this is tied to your zoning bylaw. So the first thing is A says the accessory in-law suite will be a separate unit located in an existing single-family dwelling and will be an accessory and subordinate use to the existing residential use of the property. So we have an existing single-family house, and we're adding on the accessory apartment off of the back of the house. And just by the way, we meet all of the requirements of zoning as far as setbacks on the side and the rear, and as far as the lot coverage goes. So now B, number 1, the accessory in-law suite will not be held in separate ownership from the principal dwelling. So it's all going to be held in one ownership. The accessory in-law suite will be located within an existing single-family dwelling, and the owner of the dwelling will occupy the principal dwelling unit. So the owner here and the accessory unit at the rear. The accessory in-law suite will be occupied by an individual within the 3rd degree of kinship of the owner of the principal dwelling. So in this case, right now, it's a mother and a daughter. The existing single-family house has a certificate of compliance, which was submitted with the application for the special permit. Now, I didn't do the application, so I'm assuming that that was done. The property owner of the accessory in-law suite will record at the Norfolk Registry of Deeds a certified copy of the decision granting the accessory in-law suite, and certified copies will be filed with the Department of Inspectional Services. Upon a change of ownership, the new owner will notify the building commissioner, which will allow the updating of the accessory in-law suite list. And then we go to C. This is sort of the dimensional stuff. The lot size of the land at 93 Summer Street is 25,881 square feet, which is more than the 15,000 square foot requirement. We do have a plan of land, and we do have a plan here. Well, not this one, but the one that was submitted. I have other copies here. Stamped by a surveyor and then stamped by myself for the design of the rooftop drainage. The size of the in-law suite is 854 square feet, which is more than 250 square feet minimum and less than 1,000 square feet maximum, and is less than 33% of the total building size. So total building size, 2649 times 0.33. So it could be as big as 874.17 square feet, and it's 854. Interior space used to calculate the minimum building size meets the state building code for occupancy. There are proposed 2 exterior landings. So they are here and here.
Can you point where they are?
They're in the back here, landing with stairs down, and here,
Okay.
landing with stairs down. And neither of which is more than 160 square feet. So the dimensions are on here, 10 by 16, so 160 square feet, and 8 by 12, so 96 square feet. The proposed addition will match the outside appearance of the existing single-family home again, it's a single-story building and a single-story addition. All dimension requirements comply with the applicable sections of the Waffle zoning bylaws, so there is a table of the zoning requirements and proposal on the plan itself. There will only be one accessory in-law suite on the lot at 93 Summer Street. There will only be one water meter for the dwelling. There will be no lodgers in either the original dwelling unit or the accessory in-law suite. Only the owner and the other members of the family. Parking will comply with the applicable sections of the Waffle zoning bylaw. So we don't anticipate any additional parking other than what can be placed on the existing driveway that's there now. So I think with that, Mr. Chairman, either myself or Donna or Janine can answer any questions that you might have.
So I just have one question, and it has to do with the layout, and I see there's a note in here, cased opening. It's a handwritten note on the plan. This is basically the hallway, it looks like the hallway going into the in-law suite.
On sheet
Boy.
A4.
Can
Sheet
you point
A4.
that out to me? Oh, you got one that's.
A4.
Oh.
So case opening, so would mean a door, right?
No,
So no
No.
door?
no door. So that's, it would be good if there's no door. I can't see, this is too small, I can't tell the dimension, but if it's a 36-inch case opening, that would, meet the requirements of the, at least my expectations of an in-law suite. So that it's not a separate unit, it's part of the house as the in-law suite. So, do you want to, does somebody want to speak on this? It sounds like you're not familiar with that.
Well, I didn't
You didn't do the architectural
I didn't
plans.
draw these plans, and my plan actually that I have does not have that handwritten note on it.
Does everybody else's have that?
Yes.
Chairman, I'm Peter Lavoy, I'm the builder
Okay,
for them, and yes, that was a change that we made with the building department. Because of it being an in-law apartment, we weren't gonna put an exterior door in that entryway, and it's a 5-foot by 5-foot entryway. They come in from the outside, turn to the right and go through a door into Donna's kitchen, and then to the left, we'll have this cased opening to go into the in-law. So there will not be a door.
okay. Yep, that's perfect answer.
Okay, thank you.
Does anybody have any other questions? Yeah, go ahead, Drew.
The recharge system, so your calculations at 532 gallons, you provided two 300-gallon systems, puts you at 600 to cover that. Why space it, or why spec it to two separate tanks as opposed to one? Did they make a 600-gallon tank, I guess would be my first question, sorry.
Well, so no, I'm sure they do, Drew, but we use Shea, concrete products. So we do a lot of septic systems, so we spec their stuff, they have good stuff, so they have the 300 gallon chambers.
Okay,
So I don't think, they could be placed next to each other. That would be the normal way that you, if you were just gonna do it in one thing, because, you know, as you know, as they get bigger, they get heavier, and
Right.
so you gotta have a bigger excavator, so we usually try to do something.
So your downspouts are only showing off the back of the property. Is there a reason you're only collecting the runoff off the back of the house and not the front? Or is that, I apologize, I don't
Well,
know.
so I talked to Mr. Crowley about it, and he said, what you're required to do is to capture the water from the new addition,
Okay,
so not from the existing downspouts. In the 1 inch, and even your Conservation Commission here, in most towns, 1 inch is the standard, and it has to do more with getting, you know, getting the water in the ground and not having it run across the lawn, so that you're getting the water into the ground before it starts washing off with the nitrogen and phosphorus and trying to get it into the ground. So,
okay. And then my last question is what is the lifespan for a tank like that? Is that something that needs to be maintenanced annually or every so often years? I guess if this in-law is passed on to a no ownership, I want to make sure we condition it properly so that that's maintained for the life of the in-law.
If I could, John? In addition to the design that John gave us for those, we've also got, we found some pipes that run from the front downspouts in the house out to the backyard. And we've had information about another 1,000-gallon tank in the yard that we can add to it. I haven't found that tank yet, I haven't gone that far yet, but I found the pipes. So I've got part of the information, and John's tanks would only add to what's already there.
Okay.
But, so to answer your question, Drew, the tank, a concrete tank like that easily lasts 100 years.
Okay.
Believe me. As far as maintenance, you're correct. So probably, I would say, every 5 years, somebody should open up the top of that and see if it needs to be cleaned out. Because clearly, coming from rooftop, you're gonna have leaves and other debris. And there's no filters or anything to stop them. But it's pretty much a simple job to clean all of that stuff out. You know, somebody might have to crawl in there and, you know,
Better than a
Kind-
septic tank.
a lot cleaner than a septic tank. But this is pretty much, these days, standard operating procedure to put groundwater or put rainwater back into the ground. Because as we build stuff, we do just the opposite.
Well, we heard a lot about the aquifer in the
Yeah.
Summer Street area, so,
Yeah.
on previous cases, so, yeah. I appreciate the explanation, thank you.
Just one question about the certificate of occupancy. You mentioned you weren't quite sure if that was submitted with the application. Is the building occupied now?
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Mrs. Montiero lives
Okay.
there now. Yeah, yeah, it's been occupied since it was built, apparently, yeah. No, it's kind of a funny requirement, because you have a building built in 1920, and somebody's supposed to come up with a certificate of occupancy. Did you come up with it, Patrick?
No, the language is kind of, it gives you that option, basically, if you don't have a CO,
Yeah.
that if there's no certificate available, any other evidence lawful of lawful occupancy is determined by the building commissioner. so
Yeah, as far as I know,
Yeah.
it's been occupied since 1920, so
Yeah.
for 100 years.
Is there anybody in the audience that wants to have any questions or comments on this? Okay. Board members, anything else? I think all the calculations look good, the plans look good. We'll put in, along with the standard conditions, dry well, and this isn't, we're not there yet, but dry well tank shall be maintained by the property owner, and Mr. Lavoy, do you know the size of the casement?
I haven't done anything to find it yet, I only have the information, and I'm not sure where it is in the yard.
No, the casement.
No, casement.
Casement of the door.
The door.
Opening.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, the entry case opening would be a 36-inch,
Okay.
and probably just wrapped with drywall.
a question about the plans. You seem to indicate that you have a set of plans that are not these plans, or
They
they're
just
full.
don't have that casement on there.
Okay,
Is the hand-drawn note. in this
Right,
case.
Yeah, so the ones I received didn't
Okay.
have that, so. It's the same, it's the exact same plan, with the exact same dimensions, it just, that sort of threw me off.
Okay. So I'd say, you know, when we look at this, it's a one-story building that's going to remain a one-story building,
Yes,
and with a in-law suite on the back.
correct.
And just so I'm clear, this property backs up to the Summer Street LLC 40B project, is that correct?
No,
No, okay,
that's a little bit to the right.
a little bit to the right,
There's a
so,
house behind.
I think there's this, does that house, does that lot even have frontage? There's a strange lot next to this.
The house behind?
Yeah,
okay.
maybe it's,
So you
I have a
you don't
GI.
directly abut the
No, it's to
40B?
the right of me and back, so it
Okay.
doesn't abut at all.
Okay. Okay, anybody, board members, anything else? Okay. Does the applicant want to close the hearing at this time?
Yes, please.
Okay. At the request of the applicant, could I have a motion to close this hearing?
So moved.
Moved by Judy,
second?
second by Bob. Any further discussion on closing the hearing? Everybody's comfortable with this? Okay. Okay. All those in favor of closing the hearing for 93 Summer Street, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, so carried. And I should say, voting on this will be Tim, Judy, I'll be voting Drew, and Bob. Dave's gonna recuse himself from this. Okay. So, you voted, Tim?
Aye.
Good, okay. Okay, so the hearing is closed. Does any, besides standard conditions, what I had was dry well tank shall be maintained by the property owner, and a 36 cased opening will connect the in-law suite to the main house. Does anybody have anything else? Okay. Okay. So, could I have a motion to the, to approve case number 22-23 with standard conditions, case number 2223, 93 Summer Street for a accessory in-law suite with standard conditions and additional conditions of dry well tank shall be maintained by the property owner, and the 36-inch cased opening will connect the in-law suite to the home, not a door.
So moved.
Moved by Judy,
Second.
second by Drew. Any further discussion? Okay. And voting on this will be Tim and the regular members that, and Tim, Judy, Drew, Bob, and me. Okay. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstained, so carried. Okay.
Thank you
Good luck
very
with your
much,
project.
Mr. Chairman and members
Thank
of the board. Thank you.
Okay. Next one we have this evening is case number 22-24, 35 Frontier Drive, special permit under zoning bylaws, section 5B2 for an accessory in-law suite. Okay. Good evening. We'll just read the legal notice. Notice is hereby given that the Zoning Board of Appeals, Town of Walpole, will hold a public hearing in the main meeting room, Town Hall of Walpole, on Wednesday, September 7th at 7 PM on the application from Sarah Katib, case number 22-24, with respect to property located at 35 Frontier Drive, Walpole, Mass., zoning district R. Application is for a special permit under zoning bylaw section 5B2 for an accessory in-law suite. We have correspondence from Do we have correspondence?
Yeah.
I got, yep,
Oh,
I
you
got
got
it.
it? Good.
Carl, yep. We have a letter from Carl Baldoff, town engineer, dated August 8th. The engineering reviewed the plans, and we have reviewed the submitted plan only to find the plan to be in order. We have no comments or concerns. We have a letter from Paul Barry, Deputy Chief from the Fire Department. If the request is approved, building plans indicating location of life safety devices, including residential fire sprinklers, will need to be submitted through the building department for our review. A follow-up Walpole Fire Department inspection will be conducted to ensure compliance with the approved plans. And the health department has no issues with this special permit. And that's it. Okay. Good evening. Please introduce yourself to the board and explain what's being proposed.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Chair, and members of the board. My name is Sarah Khatib. I'm at 35 Frontier Drive, and we have a single-family home in a neighborhood. I'm proposing just a modest in-law suite, 817 square feet, pretty basic, just a bedroom, a kitchen, a living room, a bathroom, and washer. It will be situated on the side and to the back, pushed back from the front of the house. It will be for my mother-in-law, who has lived with us pretty much throughout the time that we've been married, like 18 years. But she currently needs a lot of medical attention, 24/7 nursing care and things like that. And so to give space to her and the nurses and the family that are helping to care for her, we're interested to build this addition. In addition, she's paralyzed, so she's on a wheelchair. And so trying to find living accommodations that would accommodate that, wheelchair disability is really difficult. So we arrived at this solution to build an in-law on the home. And we're not asking for any, variances on the dimensional requirements. Front is not gonna change. It's gonna be set back even further, like I mentioned. The side is gonna get slightly closer, but within the requirements for our zoning. And the rear is very slightly gonna change, but also well within what's allowed. So, I don't know, I'm happy to answer any questions.
So, one of the things, and you heard us ask the last applicant, I'm looking to see, how does this tie into the main house?
It's kind of through a living space, like a living room, like a family area, so it'll go like family area into.
Is it called family, I'm trying to see.
I think it's on
it's
page
called-
A1, point 1.
Yep, A1.1,
Labeled, family room.
yep, okay. And is that a door?
Yes,
Okay. So the door can close this unit off from the rest of the house?
it's like an interior door, but yeah. Maybe something like a glass door to keep it open. No, we haven't got to that point yet, but
You heard on the last case where we had a casement opening so that it flows, it's not a separate unit that gets closed off. Is that something you could do for this?
I mean, I'd rather not, if it's not required. So there's two things. There's keeping, so I have 4 children, and I have my niece and nephew that also live with us. So there's a lot of activity in the house, there's a lot of noise. And I even talked to nice young lady in my neighborhood that lives in an in-law. And she's like, it's good to close the door, you know, with the kids, and they're so loud. So there's that. And then, you know, my mother-in-law has a lot of medical equipment beeping, a lot, you know, nursing and things, so, to, you know, noise on both sides. But it would be an interior door, you know, open to living to living.
Okay. Do any other members have any questions? Yep, Judy?
I'm behind you. You mentioned your mother-in-law's in a wheelchair. I don't see a ramp. Did I miss one?
There is a ramp.
To get out?
Yeah, I think it's shown.
Okay, the print is
Yeah,
very
if you look
small.
at A1.3, there's a little porch area, and then there's a ramp off that. And then you can see it on the elevations. A2.0. There's some small steps and then just a ramp to the left.
Oh, that's the ramp. Okay. Yep, got it.
This is it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's very small.
Does the existing house have a operating sprinkler system?
Yeah,
And inside the house, a fire interior sprinkler system?
yeah.
Okay. And the new in-law suite will have that also?
If it's required, then yeah.
So,
Is that something that you would require?
yeah, because when Frontier Drive was approved by the planning board many years ago, because the length of the road, it was required that the houses, anything, I believe, beyond 750 feet, needed to have a sprinkler system in it.
Make it.
Yeah. I was
What's that?
hoping to see that decision. I thought that would, I heard you asked for it, so I thought I would see it
Yeah.
online, but I didn't see it. But yeah,
It's
I
in the-
mean,
it's in the package, so.
oh, I didn't see it online. But anyway, that's fine. You know, we're happy that it's there, so we're happy to,
And the sprinkler system's working?
yeah.
The fire suppression in the house?
Mhm.
Okay. Let's see. Any other questions or comments? I think that'd be we'll do that as a condition, that the new in-law suite has to have be part of the fire suppression sprinkler system, if it's required.
Okay. It would tie into our existing, or I guess
I'm
I'll
not
work
gonna
that
say
out
how
with the
you have to
builder.
do it,
Yeah, okay.
Either way, it has to, you know, it
Be
has to have
operational.
a sprinkler system for this new unit.
Okay.
Anything else?
Are we gonna handle the casement?
What's that?
What are we gonna do about the casement?
I don't, you know, she said she doesn't want it. I think that's been a sticking point, because what happens is you end up creating it's not an in-law suite where it's part of the home, it's a separate unit. So I'm not in favor of it, so, you know, closing something off like that, I don't see how this doesn't become a two-family home in a single-family neighborhood, because
With an interior door?
an interior door, it's closed off. It's closing it off from the rest of the house. And, it's,
I mean,
So-
we have interior doors on our bedroom, right?
but not on in-law. I mean, if, in the bylaw, it doesn't say, and you made the point, it doesn't say that it's required, but it doesn't say that you can't have it. It talks about the in-law suite is part of the home. And I think that if you can close it off, it becomes a separate dwelling. And
Yeah.
you heard us with the last applicant, and they were able to make it a 36-inch casement opening. And, you know, I'm sure not gonna sit and design somebody's project, but most people are able to figure out how to make it as part of the house.
Yeah, I think we've done that. We have no interest in, you know, renting it or selling it. We
Yeah,
need it for our
one
family
of the things-
members.
As you know, this isn't about the current owner. It's what happens down the road, and somebody could look at this and say, oh, you know, shut the door and we've got a separate unit here, so. So that's, and it goes from, it looks like the family room into, what, these plans are small. What does it go into, like a hallway?
It's like, right near where the laundry, kinda in the front door, so just a entry space near the bathroom.
So, for me, it defeats the purpose of the bylaw, which is to create a in-law suite, not a separate unit. I don't know how other board members feel.
So it's something that you would deny the project over?
Me personally, yeah, I'd vote against it, because, you know, it's not to create, it's to create an in-law suite, not a separate unit. So,
Yeah. We have.
but how do other board members feel?
I guess I'm wondering if you've thought about the ideas of maybe adding soundproofing to the room where this medical equipment is, and maybe looking at some sort of heavier door that would sort of protect that noise that you were concerned about, and that way you could look at other alternatives to what the chairman's recommending.
Well, I mean, she likes it open. She likes
Right.
her door open. She likes the windows. She spends a lot of time in her bed, and so, you know, she likes it as open as possible. And, you know, there's a lot of people coming in and out and taking care of her, and
Understood, okay.
Is it possible to create an opening between what looks to be the family room of the main house and the living room of the addition, so that there would be circulation from the family room into the in-law suite through the living room, as opposed to the right, through the door?
yeah, we looked at that, but then, there's no real place, like if you want to put a TV or something in that living room. So we just imagine like that wall would be like where they could have, you know, a TV or something. So this one seems better.
And we have consistently required you know, an opening between the main house and the in-law suite that's not closed via a door, pretty consistently on all these types of cases.
I visited my
appreciate-
neighbors who has an in-law on my street that has a door, approved by this board.
When was that approved?
2020.
Was that
Sorry, I was actually upstairs and I was looking through some stuff. for
2020?
2020, 32 Frontier Drive. I didn't mention anything else in the bylaw about, I mean, in the decision about encased opening. It was just an approved in-law unit from 2020.
Okay, well, we've been consistent on it, and I don't know, it wasn't in the decision for a opening so that it flows into the house?
So you've turned down projects because they had an interior door?
No, people usually figure out a way to design it so that the in-law suite is part of the main house.
feel like we've done that.
And I think we'd also have to look at the approved plans to see whether the plans show, that the plans
Yeah.
showed a condition that may not exist currently at the house.
Today I was talking about, going through the fire department's decision regarding the sprinklers, and that triggered me, has anything else been approved on Frontier Drive? Because I know that's one of the few streets in town that does have the interior residential sprinklers, which is what I.
Yeah, no, it's
In
from,
my
Take a
mind.
peek.
Yeah.
it's from the planning board, the decision back in 1998, 97 and 98, when it was being worked on. Yeah. Okay. But, like I said, one of the, looking to make it so that, these units aren't closed off, and I don't recall 32 Frontier Drive, but, I don't know whether the plan showed, casement door or how it was shown, but, that's been the expectation, that it's not to be just closed off and made into a separate unit. Okay. You have any questions or comments?
No, I would just kind of echo everyone's comments. I mean, I've been a part of probably about a dozen of these now. I don't think we've ever allowed an interior door.
Yeah, sounds like we've been very consistent with it.
So if you deny me, can you explain what would happen next?
Well, I think at this point, you could make it so that it's a in-law suite where it flows in with the house by putting a casement on there. That would be part of a condition that we could approve. But if you don't want to do that, then the zoning board, I don't know how other board members would vote, but I would vote to deny it, and then you'd have a chance to appeal it.
And so a casement just means that opening, but without a door.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you all have the legal authority to do that?
Oh,
To
that's-
tell applicants
No,
what they
so-
do on the interior of their homes?
No, what we have is protecting the town, the neighbors, from a bylaw that allows an in-law suite, but not a separate dwelling being attached to the house. And this is just to protect the neighbors, the town, and in all honesty, people living in the house, that it is part of the house and it's not a separate unit. So it's called an accessory in-law dwelling, or, I'm sorry, an accessory dwelling, not a separate unit. So. And the board has been consistent on that. I don't know what happened. I'm not sure about 32. Makes me want to go back and look at the plans and see what was approved
It's
there.
a lovely addition.
It is, I think that you're right, it has been especially since I've been here, it's been the board's practice to kind of include that encased opening. It does become kind of an issue when the bylaw itself does not address that as a requirement
Yeah.
for, so I just,
It doesn't say it doesn't say there has to be a door, it doesn't say there has to be an encased opening. What it says is that it is part of the main dwelling. And the zoning board is a adjudicating board, and you say, what is the intent of this bylaw?
So if that's the opinion of the board, then I would take out the door.
Okay, so we can make a standard, we'll put it in with the standard conditions that it's a 36-inch encased cased opening from the main dwelling to the accessory unit.
Okay.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
Sarah, would you consider continuing and thinking it over as, with your architect to come up with something else? To give you a chance, I mean, if you don't think,
I would take out the door.
take out the door,
If
okay,
that-
if you're good with that.
that's a requirement, if you're deciding the interior of my house, then that's what I'll do, I'll take out the door. So if you can do it from a condition and make it so I don't have to pay the architect to delete this piece, that would be preferred,
Okay.
but if you require that I.
No.
Yeah.
It's not necessary to, you know, we're clear, we'll be specific where the encased opening was. I think what Judy's saying is there another way that you could design the flow for this, but,
We made that
It's kind of
suggestion to other
tough.
people
I
that
mean,
have,
we worked a lot over many, many months to get in, you know, the things that we needed and the space that we have. And, you know, the light requirements that my mother-in-law wants. She wants a lot of windows and, you know, she requires like a bigger room, so with all her equipment and everything. And so I'm not really sure what else we could do.
no, we've offered that opportunity to other applicants in the last probably half a dozen cases.
Yeah.
To continue, go back, come back with the same thing without the door. But if you don't want to shoot from the hip right now, then I'm just
Yeah.
suggesting that if you want to take
Well,
some
if you're
time to
telling me
think
I have
about
to
it.
take it out, then I'll take it
Okay.
out. But,
Okay.
but I would appreciate if you could just put a condition to save me some time and money.
okay. Are there any neighbors or anybody else here to comment on this case? Okay. Okay. So, do you want to close the hearing?
Sure.
Okay. At the request of the applicants, could I have a motion to close case number 22-24, 35 Frontier Drive?
So moved.
Moved by Judy, second by Drew. Any further discussion on closing the hearing? Okay. Voting on this will be the regular members and Judy. Okay. All those in favor of closing the hearing, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, so carried. Okay. I'm just looking for the plot plan. Got the plot plan and the date. Oh, John Glasser did this, he was just here.
Mm-hmm.
June, so, would somebody like to make the motion that we approve case number 2224, 35 Frontier Drive, based on the plot plan for 35 Frontier Drive dated June 29th, 2022, and the architectural plans from do we have them right there? Yeah, right here. Thanks. Architectural plans from Blackbird Architect dated,
Looks like 5-1.
anybody see the date on it?
My magnifier doesn't go that big. Do you want to try it? I can't see it.
5/1/22?
I'm just super zoom in.
Architectural plans dated 5/1/22. Standard conditions and added condition that the in-law, the accessory dwelling will have a fire suppression sprinkler system in it. and that the doorway, there will be no door between the main dwelling and the accessory unit, and have a 36-inch casement opening between the, what's the room? The living room and the hallway to the accessory in-law. Anybody have anything else they want to add?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Judy, second by Dave. Any further discussion on that? Everybody's comfortable with this? Okay. Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, so carried. Okay,
All right, thank you.
hey, good luck with your project. Okay. Next, we have the clock tower, right? So, sorry. This is case number 22-4, 132, 136, 140 Washington Street, special permit under 5B13G of the Waffle zoning bylaws to allow for a 3-story, 6-unit mixed-use residential development within the Business B zoning district. And this was continued from back last month. So, good evening, Mr. American, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. So we did receive these plans, but we received them just
Thursday.
Thursday. So we haven't had time for comments, so what you want to do tonight is present where you're at with this
Yeah, I'm just
development?
gonna give you the overview, present it to you. Pat thought that might be a good idea. And then we'll ask for a continuance to give everyone time to take a look at it. I thought the TV might be here, so I'm coming unprepared here, without paper plans. You want me to just talk you through
So,
it?
you know, we all have the plan.
All right, so let me just
is-
talk you through it. So we submitted two things to you. We submitted
Just one question. Is this the applicant behind you?
This is
Okay,
Tom
so
Powers.
you don't need you're not a neighbor and need a copy of the plan.
No, my client. We submitted two things to you, a revised site plan and a revised architectural plan. I think you'll recall that the prior architectural plans were kind of simplistic. So the applicant engaged an architect to do a more detailed conceptual architectural plan, and you can see where a lot of the detail that went into that is in the elevations on sheet A300. They added some dormers, they added some more aesthetic interest to the front-facing facades of the building. We actually stepped the building back a little bit around the tower, so now two sides of the existing tower will show. The existing tower is gonna remain. It's gonna be incorporated into the new structure. The new structure will be built around it, and then the tower will be incorporated into it. Aside from that, it's similar to what we had in concept previously. It's 6 units upstairs, each with 2 floors, each with 2 bedrooms. The lower level is commercial space. The second thing that we gave you was the site plan, and the site plan is not drastically different than the last plan that we submitted to you. We incorporated some suggestions from your board, namely we relocated the dumpster to the end of the parking lot, and that allowed us to get 2 more spaces interior to the site. And the second thing that we did is we made the driveway to Washington Street one-way egress only. So it would be a single flow of circulation from Chestnut Street through the side driveway out to Washington Street. And the third thing we did, I think you might recall that the town engineer and I had some discussions about a bunch of different potential options for what to do with Chestnut Street. Right now, Chestnut Street is just a lot of pavement next to our site. There used to be angled, I think there actually used to be perpendicular parking spaces there at one time. And Carl and I met and we talked through options, and we think this is probably the best option. Now, it should be noted that, these proposed improvements to Chestnut Street are at the discretion of the select board as the roadway commissioners. So that's something that they would either say yes or no to, but we incorporated them into this plan as an indication to you of what we'd like to do with Chestnut Street. And that would be to propose to build a new sidewalk further out that would take the northbound lane of Chestnut Street and bring it to one lane. What it is now is it was never really intended to be 2 lanes, but when the parking space paint went away, it kind of became 2 lanes by practice. It's been that way for a while. Town engineer and I agreed that it would be best to bring that back to its original intent, which is a single lane for the northbound traffic, and then we would propose 3 parallel parking spaces along that road. You might notice that directly across the intersection on Washington Street, there are a similar kind of a circumstance where there's 3 parallel parking spaces along Washington Street, directly opposite Chestnut Street. So I think that would fit in. And then the applicant would reconstruct the sidewalk around the parking areas and around the new corner rounding that we would install. In order to kind of tidy this all up, because the present town property line is awkward for the Chestnut Street layout. The sidewalk is actually not on town property, it's on private property. Carl wants all of that to be in the layout, so as this plan indicates, if approved, the applicant would basically donate 2 pieces of land to the town that the select board could then incorporate into the layout of Chestnut Street. And that would, at the end, when we're all done, that would mean all the sidewalks would be in the town layout, on the town property, which is the way I think it should be. So those are the highlights. I wanted to show you that and see if you had any questions or comments from me. I know that Carl still needs to review this. We're going in front of the planning board next week. So we would be looking to continue this to your first meeting in October, if you have no questions for me.
I'll just say, this looks better, so that's a good thing. Let's talk about the actual building. It seems like the building is now moving closer to Washington Street, is that correct? From what was,
I don't believe so, no. So originally what we had is we had the building wrapping around the left side. We had the building wrapping around the left side of the clock tower and fully encasing the clock tower.
right.
So the building originally was a little bit closer to Chestnut Street. It was flush up with the southwest face of the clock tower, and then it wrapped around the northwest side of the clock tower. So they actually knocked that kind of corner out of the building to create some more kind of architectural interest in the building facade and to make that clock tower kind of stand out there.
Yeah, thanks.
It's just the old
I'm
plans.
looking at the old.
The old plan, yeah. I'm pulling it up here myself.
So, the clock tower was really surrounded by the new building on 3 sides.
Fully encased, except
Fully
for
encased.
except for the Chestnut Street side. So this kind of puts it out there more as like a more of an architectural element. It puts it forward of almost the entire structure by stepping Chestnut Street side back 2 feet and by knocking out that corner. Because there is an existing door on the northwest side of the clock tower, so there, as you can see in that rendering, that's going to be kind of preserved as, it's not going to really be a door, I don't think. It's going to be an architectural element to kind of be consistent with the way it used to look.
So even though it's moving back from Chestnut Street, as you said, about 2 feet, it doesn't seem like it's going towards the Neponset River in the back 2 feet. So
No, the building footprint got a little bit smaller.
got a little bit smaller, okay. And it does, let's see, 20. Well, it looks like the old plan had it 16 feet back from the Washington Street property line, and now it's 15.6.
Okay, so 5
So,
inches.
Yeah, we're not gonna sweat that, I don't think. Unless it's, what is the,
15 is the front yard setback, so Washington Street is the front yard, 15
Okay.
is the minimum setback.
okay, so you're meeting that. So, I like the looks of the, me personally, the new plans look a lot more thought out. So, the traffic flow from one way in and then out to Washington Street makes sense, I think. Does anybody have any concerns about traffic flow on this?
I just have a couple of questions. Dan, the parallel parking potential in the three spaces, I guess I have a little concern of maybe people coming off of Washington Street and taking a hard 90-degree turn to get into those. They're parallel. Did you consider doing angle parking so that when you came down through Chestnut Street towards Washington, that's the only way you could park there?
Well, I mean, our last site plan for this had angled parking there, but, you know, Chestnut Street coming northwest on Chestnut Street through that old railroad tunnel, you know, that's not the greatest place to have angled parking spaces backing out into the flow of traffic. So the only way you're gonna get into those parallel spaces is by coming down Chestnut Street. You're not gonna be able to get into them.
Right, okay. I just wanted, I didn't know if you had considered that.
We could do that. I just think the town engineer, and I think it's an inferior option.
Okay, and the other thing I had is the, I guess, the 90-degree sidewalk
Around there?
around there. I mean, it seems like, you know, like human nature is gonna make, you know, people are gonna just cut that, so is there any way you could,
Yeah,
would it be
That's something that Carl and I would flush out. You know, the MBTA wants to put a
station thing?
fare station there,
Mm-hmm.
where you can buy tickets. So we need room for that. So that kind of area, that kind of corner is where we would put it. But yeah, there may be a different configuration.
Okay.
Carl hasn't weighed in on, you know, the exact specifics of this plan yet. So that's something that I could discuss with him.
It's just like, I think we talked about the old plan where the crosswalk was actually further in behind the building, and then people aren't gonna take that, they're gonna
Right.
cross where they cross, so I'm just thinking,
Yep.
same thing with that 90-degree turn. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I just have a question. Dan, you mentioned MBTA fare station.
Mhm.
Is that based on conversations you've had with the MBTA at all, or is that just?
The T has approached Carl.
Okay.
Carl put it in, I think, his last memo that you probably had. So the T would install it, the applicant would install it, but they're just looking, they're gonna be looking to approach the select board about the possibility of putting a fare station somewhere over there, and, you know, Carl's point was, let's try to find a spot for it. So this plan at least provides a spot for it in the town property, in what will become the town property.
I remember, I think the first time this was brought forward, suggestion of just a covered stop. with-
See, I don't think that works with the zoning, because of setback requirements. I mean, so this is just where you can buy tickets.
Yeah,
I don't know, you know, we had that conversation in our department head meeting with Jim Crowley, and he never did get back to me on whether that is an option. I'm not sure that it is. If it was, it would probably have to reside entirely in the street layout.
but I'm just thinking of other communities that do have covered bus stops.
Yeah, it would have to be entirely within the street layout, because
Okay.
then I don't think zoning would apply.
Yeah, so.
Chairman. Couple questions about the parking. Is there anything to restrict, how is the parking flow? I mean, as opposed to residents, to people entering or exiting the business? 20 spaces provided,
21.
21, one being a handicap, right?
Yep, correct.
Okay, so 20 spaces being provided, you got 3 on the street. There's no designated FedEx drop-off, anything for the business, correct?
No, but there's room here for a truck to pull over and do a drop-off. So parking spaces, I usually like to leave that as an operational decision for, you know, for the entity that will control the site. We could designate residential parking spaces if you wanted us to.
I'm not, you know, I mean, that's completely up to you. I guess there's a couple areas I'm going with that, which is, these units are rented or sold? Are they condos?
I believe they're gonna be condoed.
Okay, and you don't show any sort of electrical car charging stations that would be the responsibility of the HOA or the homeowners?
There
or-
would be, if it's condo, there would be an HOA. We are not currently proposing any EV spots.
Okay. If there was a, just hypothetical, walk with me, backing up of cars trying to take a left from Chestnut onto Washington Street, is there any preventative measures in place to stop people cutting through your parking lot to get back onto Washington?
Maybe we could add a sign.
Okay,
That might attract someone's attention, though.
yeah.
I guess that's the downside to the one-way flow through there, but, no,
Well,
a
I guess
signage-
I'm just looking at-
signage would be the only thing that we could do.
I'm looking at the handicap spot, like that, you know, somebody,
Yep.
grandma walking across with a walker and someone thinking they're gonna save a couple minutes off their commute and.
Yeah, no, it's a good
and
point, we
through,
could
so.
add some signage on that.
And there's no proposed improvements to the local infrastructure roadway as far as, other than what's shown here on the plans? I mean, you're not, no crosswalk lights, street lighting, anything like that yet?
No.
Okay. Thank you, Chairman.
So a question regarding the front yard. I think it's in here somewhere, but I can't put my finger on it. But all of the access to the building is along Chestnut Street. And so it seems that that's sort of the quote-unquote front of the building. But I know that there are conditions regarding corner lots and things like that. Can you just explain why Washington Street is the front yard?
They go by address, essentially, so it's addressed as a Washington Street address, and it would continue to be addressed as a Washington Street address. I believe that is the way the building department views it, and I specifically had this conversation with Jim Crowley about this, and he concurred that Washington Street would be the front yard setback, and Chestnut Street would be the side yard setback.
Okay.
Anything else? Anybody else?
Right now.
Yeah, there's still more to review. It's really gonna come down, I think, to the traffic issues and, you know, what the road commissioners, the selectmen are gonna be okay with as far as making this work. So you continue working with Carl Baldoff, the town engineer, and figure out what's gonna work. But I think, does anybody have any questions on the actual units? And I think they look pretty standard, 6 units there, right?
6 units, yes.
Yeah. I think it'll be a nice addition to East Walpole.
Now, I think Carl and I had anticipated that, and I have notes on the plan that basically defer approval of the work in Chestnut Street to the select board, and I think he envisioned that if approved, it would be conditioned accordingly. Are you thinking along those same lines, or do
Yeah.
you want, okay.
Yeah, no, we can't, the zoning board can't actually approve roadway
Roadway improvements.
improvements. What we can do is, you know, anything on, you know, your site, and how it, you know, the traffic flows out, but, you know, we're not gonna approve, you talked about even a land, what?
Yeah, donation.
Donation of
All of that.
land, that's, you know, that might be a condition that we would say you've agreed to do, but,
Subject to the
we don't
roadway
accept it, or anything like that. You're familiar with how that works.
Yep.
But, okay. Anything else? Okay. So,
You need an extension, Pat?
I believe we have until October 7th.
what date did you say, Patrick?
I think October 7th is what we have, but
Sounds right.
October 7th is what your extension is to, so I guess depending on,
That would be the next meeting that we would like to come to, so.
it would be, well, I think the 5th is the next meeting.
Oh, the 5th?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. If we could do that, that'd be great.
And how we doing, what about time? Because This has been, I know you've spent time working on it, we can see that, but what's,
So we've received an extension, so not just a continuation from the last time, but Mr. Americano was also granted an extension of time until October 7th. But we can continue the hearing to the 5th and be within that extended public hearing timeframe.
Yeah, when you last extended this, you voted an extension to the 7th. So if we continue the hearing to the 5th, you're covered.
okay,
And
October,
we'll go from
okay,
there.
October 5th.
And that's just for the public hearing. If the board wanted to close at that night and vote, we can still have
Okay.
enough time for the decision.
Okay. Okay. Good. Anything else on this? Yeah.
One quick question, and just looking at this, so the clock tower is gonna stay there. The inside of the clock tower is not in any way, shape, or form part of any of the units?
I think, if you look at the architectural plans, it looks like the first floor, right there, you can see it
Yeah,
right there.
that's what I thought,
They're gonna
okay.
try to incorporate the first floor into the commercial space, but not for the units themselves. I don't think.
I was gonna put my office in there. It's 12 by 14, so I can put a desk and then.
On the first floor.
I can climb up to the
Yeah.
second floor too.
Get a
But-
note in the.
The upper floors would not be part of the residential units.
All right, so, and so that's like a big, right now, the existing conditions are, it's a big empty space?
Yeah, I can bring
I
it
mean,
down
from-
on Sunday morning.
So it's empty from basically the first ground level all the way to
Yeah, we
the,
keep it all historical, nothing's gonna change.
no, I was just concerned about the inside being a big void of something.
Well, there'll be
Nothing.
access to it, and we've already discussed with the deputy chief, that there'll have to be like a dry fire suppression system in that
okay.
space, because if it's not climatized, it needs to be protected. So that would all be ironed out in the building permit process.
That's what I thought, okay. That's it, thank you.
Okay, anything else? Good. Okay, so could, at the request of the applicant, could I have a motion to continue this until October 5th at 7 PM at Town Hall?
So moved?
Moved by Judy. Second by Drew. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, so carried. Okay,
Thanks for your time.
okay, good night, good luck with this. Hope it continues in the right direction. Okay, next we have some minutes from some meetings. July 20th. I was able to review those minutes. I didn't have anything. Bob, did you have a chance to review them?
I took a look at the executive session minutes. And I'm trying to put my hands on them right now. This year's thing.
I've been, yeah.
Thanks. Um, So, as I recall, the first paragraph on the second page talks about, once we got into executive session, what Attorney Pucci was talking about. And it says that the Attorney Pucci informed the board that Walpole's safe harbor status was requested because of the Cedar Edge 40B project, as that had made it eligible for the 2-year safe harbor. But I think and then it says, however, safe harbor certification was contingent on that project pulling a building permit within a year, which didn't happen. So, I think the advice that we got from Attorney Pucci was that, because we had an approved housing production plan, we had a 2-year, safe harbor period, which was independent of whether or not Cedar Crossing got a building permit or not. And that was the basis on which he planned to appeal. So I think we just need to I think the advice we received was that was a sound legal basis for an appeal. And I think, at least I recall that was the basis on which we decided to, proceed with the filing of the appeal.
Okay.
And I just think that could be worked in here a little bit more. As it reads now, to me, it sort of sets up what I think is the developer's argument, which is, hey, you had a 1 year, there was no building permit, so the safe harbor should be lifted, and that was their position, but our position was that the safe harbor extends for 2 years from the date of the housing production plan.
Okay. And, right, because housing production plan is not mentioned,
I think it's mentioned later, it says,
okay, but not in this section, and it should be, because that was
Yeah,
part of the
that was part of the
discussion.
discussion. And it should say Attorney Pucci, I think, replied, rather than Mr. Attorney.
So if you would you make those changes, and then we can vote, we don't have to vote on it tonight, but I'd rather see it worded correctly. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to Bob for what he's talking about, but I understand exactly what you're saying, Bob.
Okay. And I did not read the other set of minutes.
Okay. I did review the minutes of July 20th, and I found them, I didn't catch anything on it, so, did other people have a chance to review it? It's like reliving the meeting when I read the minutes, so.
Is that a bad thing?
No,
Okay. It's not a nightmare?
it's not a nightmare, it's just reliving it.
That was a long one, if I remember.
It was,
That was a long night.
It's like a highlight reel.
It's like at 10 o'clock there, I think.
Well, that's, okay. Okay, so if people haven't reviewed it, we don't need to vote on July 20th. How about August 17th? Did people have a chance to review those?
I didn't finish that.
Okay. Okay. Well, why don't we table it, and we'll handle the executive session and the July 20th at our next meeting, but if everybody can get a chance to review those, that's only fair. Everybody has a chance. Okay, next meeting is coming up in 2 weeks, so all is well. Does anybody have anything else for the board?
Nope.
Okay. Does somebody want to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion to adjourn made by Judy,
Second.
second by Drew. Any further discussion? All those in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, so carried. Good night, everybody.